Congressman Bishop, we're delighted to have you here.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I thank you, Ms. Jackson-Lee. As to the first bill, H.R. 3372, of course, it, as said, authorizes the Attorney General to provide grants to community-based nonprofits to operate one-stop reentry centers. The point of contention is that the Department of Justice already does exactly what this bill would require it to do. The Second Chance Act of 2007, reauthorized by Congress and signed into law by President Trump, and the First Step Act of 2018, provides comprehensive assistance to individuals in transition from prison back to the community. So this reentry assistance authority already exists. And in fact, last Congress, the Subcommittee on Crime, Terrorism, and Homeland Security held a hearing entitled Returning Citizens, Challenges and Opportunities for Reentry. The majority's own briefing memo for that hearing highlighted, as an example, the Somerset County Day Reporting Center in Somerset County, Pennsylvania. The center calls itself a, quote, community-based correctional program that has been designed to provide services for its participants at one location, close quote. This is the exact type of program envisioned by H.R. 3372. And indeed, the center's program has received a grant from the Justice Department's Bureau of Justice Assistance. In fact, the name of that grant is Smart Supervision, Reducing Prison Populations, Saving Money, and Creating Safer Communities. H.R. 3372 is duplicative of efforts found in the Second Chance Act, under which nonprofit entities are eligible for grant funds. While we all want successful reentry programs to reduce recidivism, it does not help. In fact, it hurts because it deprives the end user of the resources to create duplicative and additional bureaucracy in the process. Indeed, the question might be begged, can the nonprofit that I've cited or that Ms. Jackson-Lee made reference to receive grants under both of the duplicative programs? Where we should be spending our limited time here, instead of passing duplicative legislation to provide this, is to address the rampant crime epidemic in America's cities, rejecting lenient soft-on-crime policies and encouraging prosecutors to actually enforce the law. I'll turn briefly to H.R. 6878, the Pregnant Women in Custody Act. Each year, an estimated 58,000 pregnant women pass through jails and prisons in the United States. This bill would expand on existing programs within the Bureau of Prisons to provide certain health and wellness-related services for pregnant, incarcerated women. The legislation will help these women receive necessary medical care, nutrition, and support while in federal custody. The bill builds upon President Trump's leadership in the First Step Act, which prohibited the use of restraints on pregnant women in federal custody. H.R. 6878 would prohibit pregnant women in federal custody from being placed in restrictive housing unless their behavior poses a serious and immediate risk of physical harm. The bill also expands data reporting on the health needs of pregnant incarcerated women and requires guidelines for the treatment of incarcerated women during pregnancy, labor, and postpartum recovery. Certainly, all of us believe that pregnant incarcerated women should be well cared for in federal custody. However, there is a note of concern that some members have with this bill, that it could require the Bureau of Prisons to provide abortifacients to pregnant inmates. Section 4 of the bill requires that, quote, the Bureau of Prisons, at an inmate's request, shall provide contraception, close quote. But the word contraception is not defined in the bill and could potentially include abortifacients. Internal Bureau of Prisons policy does not define contraception, but it does state that, quote, the medical indication and appropriateness of prescribing birth control in a correctional environment ordinarily is limited to hormone replacement therapy. Because the word contraception is not defined in internal policy and not in the statute, not in the bill proposed, the ambiguity leaves open the reasonable interpretation that the term contraception could be construed to include abortifacients or other substances that induce an abortion. Hopefully, we may get some clarity on that from Representative Jackson-Lee during this hearing. I request an open rule on both bills so that all members can provide valuable amendments and improve these pieces of legislation. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield back.